especially for addicts in recovery or people in recovery from anything, the line between like well and unwell is it's not quite as clear as people would like it to be. That's a uncomfortable fact that I think like it's almost like we all want to do. Maybe it's just better if we all kind of pretend like no, everything's normal, we're all okay. It's like none of us are really okay 100% of the time. I don't think. Yeah, yeah, it's a strange one, but
You still go to meetings?
what's that?
You still go to meetings?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I've got sponsees and everything. I'm actually just this week. I'm going to take a sponsee through his 12th step, which I'm really excited about.
Wow.
To see him start sponsoring people, I think that's like such a great, beautiful thing to watch people. I mean, I'll have to talk to him more because I'm sure he'll be like I was, where as soon as I started sponsoring, I was like, now I have to call my sponsor all the time because this guy's asking me questions and I have no idea any of the answers. I wasn't paying attention the first time. When it was for me, I didn't pay attention, but now that it's for somebody else, I actually want to do a good job. You know what I mean? And that was like that's when I understood what was in the big book was when I had to tell it to somebody else. Explain it to somebody else and have those conversations with somebody else was the first time I really listened to my sponsor. So I'm
Hmm.
really excited for him to get there, and I'm excited for me to get to experience it again. To watch somebody else become a valuable member of the program.
Oh, do you
Yeah,
go when you're on the road? Do you go to meetings?
I do. I have a couple musicians meetings that are online that I go to Zoom at. And that's really fun to have like all people who are in the same position where it's like couldn't get to a meeting today, so I'm on Zoom and hear tour everybody from tour managers to merch people and guitar players and it's a nice bunch. But I try to go to in-person meetings if I can, and especially on any kinds of anniversaries. I'll find a really good low bottom meeting in a city that I haven't been to. I got to do my 6 year one at a really low bottom meeting in LA on Skid Row, and it was amazing. You know what I mean? Because everybody else there that was celebrating anniversaries were like celebrating 90 days. There wasn't like a
Is
lot
that
of
in your book? Is that the one? There's one.
no, no,
Wait, was
no.
that where somebody's wearing a mask?
Yeah, we
And
talked about this, right? I told you about this. They
yeah,
were wearing a
yeah, okay,
mask
that was in person. You told me about that.
and they were like, "Yeah, I got to wear this mask because I'm more vulnerable. Like I have a weakened immune system." And everybody's looking at them because the mask is like not over their mouth; it's like a big eye mask with feathers coming off. So it's kind of like, okay, you got to wear a mask for your immune system, but it's not that kind of mask. And then later, I found out that maybe it was because they were wanted, and there was a
It
warrant
was a
out, and they wanted to
true
go to them.
anonymity issue at play.
Yeah, a real like I don't want a cop seeing me at this meeting. Which respect, big respect. But it was also amazing to get to share 6 years with a room that maybe didn't have 6 years in it otherwise, and um, and also to remind me like how bad it gets, when you're out there.
Yeah, let me just I want to try to bring you so when you when you would go on tour for well on book tour, it's very different than being Jeff the musician, and it's a grace to be able to be present with people in a different way. Did you find that it was a bigger adjustment for your fans or for you, or was it a mutual kind of
I think it's sort of strangely like a lot of bands do like VIP meet and greets. You know what I mean? They do them and they charge $100 to meet the band or whatever. And the thing that was so beautiful about the book tour was it was like I got to have those experiences with people but it was a free event and they could buy the book if they wanted. And it was still like a much smaller crowd. I mean, there were good crowds, but it wasn't 1,000 people. It was 100 people, and at that level, I can basically talk to everybody. You know what I mean? Like it's going to take me a little while, but I really loved it. And I really, I got to read with so many writers that I admire. At the Franklin Park reading, I got to read with Blake Butler, and at the Hidden Palace one in Baltimore, I got to read with Chelsea, Scott McClanahan, Juliet. You know what I mean? It was like sort of almost like
Right.
my Mount Rushmore of writers that I want to read with. So it's been a really lovely experience, and you know, in some ways, I think I sort of expected these people who are just reading their books, but I'm a performer and I know how to do this, so I've got a leg up on them. And then you read once with Scott McClanahan and you think like, I'm not a performer. Like that guy's way better than I am at this. So it's been a really great, humbling, cool experience. And I'm doing my audiobook right now,
That's hard.
and
That's hard.
it's really exciting because it's giving me a new perspective on how I could read. Because I decided to do something that I I don't know if it's been done or not before, but I thought I've been thinking a lot about the Wizard of Oz the movie, and how in the Wizard of Oz there was color was a new technology, and so instead of just making the movie color, they decided to make Oz color, and the rest of the movie's black and white. So I had this idea that maybe for the book that I would do that, and for the whole hallucinatory section of the book, I was going to score the book myself. I was going to bring to life the hallucination through music. It's still like a 3 hour section of the book because the book's 250 pages and it's cut into thirds. And so I've been working on that, and it's been super exciting. I've been getting to learn how to use all the scoring software, and I've got this some really amazing expressive keyboards, and I found some really great ways to make sounds. And it's been a really, really fun process, and I can't wait for people to hear it. But now I'm like thinking maybe I could do like a performance like that the next time I read, is like bring the score to life. So it's been really like
That's
it's been
brilliant.
giving the book a new life, and I can't wait for people to hear it. I can think uh, everybody that I've played a little snippet for is like, oh, it's like that. so so
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a
everybody.
brilliant intersection, and it really, maybe you can even do the odorama type
Oh
of,
yeah, right. See, that's live. I got to do that live. You're right.
but I really want to congratulate you because I the way you talk about, and I've heard you read, and would you read, would you please read a section for us? Do you have a
Right
sec?
now.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Let's see. This is from the beginning of the third book. So after all the hallucinations, this is kind of like the next section. Bodies can fail in all different kinds of ways. Proponents of medical science claim that if you ignore the circumstances leading to a death and examine instead the mechanism of failure at work, there are basically four ways to die: oxygen starvation, lethal temperature, chemical toxins, and physical damage. Oxygen starvation, lethal temperature. They have such beautiful clinical terms, but I've never seen anyone die in clinical terms: suffocation, stroke, aneurysm, car crash. That's how people die in the world I grew up in. When my friends talk about death, they talk about a gunshot, a twist of the knife in the center of the guts. But I'm from the suburbs. I saw a lot of people just forgetting what it takes to stay alive, falling down the stairs, slipping through thin ice on a frozen lake, falling asleep in the raging fire of their own homes. The difference between 2 Tylenol and 20. It's not rare, it happens all the time. Even a relatively minor injury can keep you from continuing to exist. People go into shock, people bleed out. All it takes is 4 pints. Lose that much blood all at once, and you might think gravity's getting stronger, pushing down on you until even breathing gets hard, and your limbs drag against the ground until the color runs off the walls into the gutter, taking the living world with it soon after. Blunt force trauma, electrocution. When my uncle used to work in a home for troubled youths, he pulled a boy off a wall socket where the kid had jammed a fork, making a circuit of death. The boy's body turned off like a light switch before the medic showed up and turned it back on. I once saw a body in the woods near Allison Park. That's up in the Palisades Cliffs. My buddy James noticed it first. He spotted its red right arm sticking out from under the brown leaves, hand curled in a fist with just the last two fingers outstretched. We argued about what it looked like, a gang sign or a distress signal, but we were both wrong. It looked like a piece of bruised fruit someone threw in the garbage. Bodies can fail on purpose. It's not hard. Take a bottle of sleeping pills and never wake up. Throw yourself off the roof, and the ground will stop your body, but the rest of you will just keep on going deep into the hidden place below. In high school, my French partner's body failed to stop a train on the tracks behind the football field. He just sat down on them and didn't get up. I had to step every morning over the stain of his blood just to get to school on time. When I got there that first day after it happened, I spent first period French class staring at his empty chair as my teacher called out, Christian, Christian, repeatedly with no answer. Eventually, someone told her why he was gone, and she walked right out of the classroom. We saw her smoking a cigarette in the parking lot through our second floor windows. Oxygen starvation, lethal temperature, chemical toxins, physical damage. Yep, that's the section.
Are there any times when you really thought that's it, you're gonna die?
Yeah, there are a few times. I was in such a dark place though that I just thought, well, I guess that's how it goes. I can't imagine having to wake up and do this all over again tomorrow. So if
No.
this is it, I guess it's for the best. That's where I was at, which is it's hard for people to imagine. You know what I mean? When addicts say like, yeah, I was okay with dying. You know what I mean? Like I knew I could die, but what was I going to do? Stop? You know what I mean? It's way more unimaginable than dying. Um, yeah,
It's Milch when I was going through this really dark time when on Deadwood where we had meetings. And Milch would tell me, I was outed and I was like public enemy number one. And
sure.
he deeply understood what it was and what it was not in a way that I didn't even understood and knew I wasn't ready to write about that's for sure, take a book deal. And he said to me, like, do the next indicated thing. And that to me has gotten me through so much, where it's like when
Yeah.
congratulations again and everyone, I truly recommend reading this wonderful work of literature. Someone who isn't me.